You know, the most difficult new skill I tried to learn recently was actually coding in Python. I'm in marketing, and I realized that a lot of data analysis tasks were still being done manually in spreadsheets, which took forever. I wanted to learn Python so I could automate some of those reporting processes and save hours of work every week. The most challenging part, by far, was the initial mental shift. It wasn't like learning a new language where you could just memorize vocabulary. Coding requires a completely different way of thinking. You have to think logically, step by step, almost like giving instructions to a very literal machine. There were countless times when I would get stuck for hours on a small syntax error or a logical bug, which was incredibly frustrating. I started by taking online courses and just forcing myself to do small projects every weekend. Now I can confidently run some basic scripts, and it has made a huge difference in my job.
Well, once I had to reluctantly give up on a goal, which was to teach myself advanced web development and transition into a full-time coding career. I had been dedicated to this for nearly a year, spending all my evenings and weekends learning various programming languages and building portfolio projects. I decided to quit because I was facing a severe constraint on my time and energy. I was already working a demanding full-time job, and the late-night studying led to extreme burnout. The steep learning curve required more focused time than I realistically had. I had to put things into perspective and admit that continuing was negatively affecting my health. The main takeaway was that persistence is vital, but so is self-awareness. I learned that if a goal requires you to compromise your mental or physical health for a prolonged period, you need to adapt or restructure the plan. I may revisit coding later, but I learned when it's time to go back to the drawing board.
Okay. Once, I had to reluctantly give up on a goal, learning the Russian language, which falls under the skills and goals category. The goal was to achieve professional fluency within 2 years, as I dreamt of working abroad in Eastern Europe. I was incredibly dedicated, taking evening classes and spending 2 hours daily for 18 months. I decided to quit because I faced an overwhelming constraint. A sudden major shift in my career path eliminated the need for Russian entirely. Suddenly, the grueling effort felt pointless. I felt great regret about the time invested, and I realized that had I researched the job market more carefully before embarking on that journey, I wouldn't have wasted so much energy. Now I can say if I hadn't let go of that external motivation, I might have found a way to use the language recreationally. Conversely, if I had restructured the goal earlier, I wouldn't have experienced such a massive burnout. The main takeaway was profound. I learned that self-awareness and purpose are more vital than sheer persistence.
Well, I faced a difficult ethical dilemma at work. The dilemma occurred when I discovered a serious accounting error made by my supervisor on a major client report. The mistake could easily be concealed, resulting in the company getting a higher bonus payment than deserved. It was difficult because I was under intense pressure. Revealing the error meant exposing my supervisor's mistake, potentially damaging their career. The alternative was being complicit in a small fraud. I was at a crossroads between loyalty and professional integrity. My final decision was to face the music. I discreetly reported the error to the head of finance, ensuring the correction was made before submission. I had to bite the bullet and deal with the fallout. However, management later commended me for my integrity. Honesty is always the foundation of professional conduct.
My memory is of the Caribbean Carnival Parade in Toronto. The event was memorable due to the incredible atmosphere and the vibrant visual spectacle. The air was buzzing with rhythmic steel pan drums, and the streets were filled with energy. The highlight was seeing the intricately designed, monumental costumes. They were absolutely breathtaking, full of feathers and elaborate colors. The difference from watching it on screen was profound. On TV, you miss sensory experience. You don't feel the bars vibrating in your chest, smell the food, or feel the heat of the crowd. The sheer scale and spontaneous interaction simply cannot be captured on a flat screen. I walked away with an incredible sense of joy and a deeper appreciation for the effort that goes into preserving that heritage. It was an unforgettable experience.
I want to share a time I received truly stellar service from a major airline last year. The situation was stressful. My connecting flight was abruptly cancelled due to severe weather, and the airport lobby was chaotic. I was completely overwhelmed, thinking I'd be stuck for days and miss a crucial family event. The service was outstanding because one agent, Mary, took the plunge and worked methodically through the problem. She didn't just rebook me, she found a complex, last-minute partner airline route, securing a seat that usually requires an exclusive booking. She literally went the extra mile for me. The impact was transformative. I felt a huge sense of relief and deep gratitude. If I hadn't encountered Mary, I would have spent 2 miserable days sleeping in the terminal, and my important family trip would have been a disaster. Her dedication truly put things into perspective regarding customer care. That single act of kindness made me a fiercely loyal customer, and I immediately wrote a formal commendation to her supervisor.